This is a podcast from soof.co.uk. Hello, I'm Patrick Downs. This is all about film, whether it be Blu-ray, DVD or streaming. This is Bring the Film. In The Fabelmans, young Sammy Fabelman falls in love with movies after his parents take him to see the greatest show on earth. Armed with a camera, Sammy starts to make his own films at home, much to the delight of his supporting mother.
Sammy, we're going to use Daddy's camera to film it. I'll only crash the train once, okay? Then after we get the film developed, you can watch it crash over and over till it's not so scary anymore. And your real train won't ever get broken. One more thing, Dolly. Let's not tell your father. It'll be our secret movie, just yours and mine. Okay?
Starring Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Seth Rogen, Gabrielle LaBelle and Judd Hirsch. And our film correspondent Madeleine Finley-Hudson caught up with Michelle Williams on how it felt to know she was Steven Spielberg's first choice to play the role of his mother.
It's really an honor, to be asked to be somebody's beloved mother. This film was made with so much love. Something that I think is so interesting about Steven is still how tapped into his childhood he is and how it's really an endless source of creativity for him. And he made this as a tribute to the two people that formed him. His father, the scientist, and his mother, the artist, sort of combined and made him who he was. And he wanted to tell their story and bring them back to life and also sort of let them live forever on screens.
Mitzi is a fantastic character. How did you approach that role?
As soon as I started talking to Steven, everything flows from him. He has so many recollections, so many stories. And also there was so much footage because she gave him his first camera. So there's footage of her that he filmed himself when he was a kid, photos that he took of her, so much to draw from.
Did he give you any advice about portraying her truthfully?
Yeah, he trusts you. He gives you all the information that you ask for, and then he trusts you to sort of to combine all of that and bring her to life.
And lastly, I just wanted to ask you, what was it like working with Seth Rogen?
Seth is really great. This was actually our second movie together. It's really funny being an actor and having different experiences, knowing people, having played characters together before. Seth and I were married in another movie. And so it's always so funny to kind of find yourself recombining through different parts and different characters. The guy is really funny and he really does keep you laughing.
And our film correspondent Madeleine Finley-Hudson caught up with Gabrielle LaBelle, who plays Sammy Fabelman, and began by asking him what advice and guidance Steven Spielberg gave to him to enable him to play the part of the young Sammy.
I expected, as soon as I would be cast, that he would give me his old diaries and his manifesto and explain to me, this is what it means to be me. But he didn't at all. And first thing I asked him was, how much of this script is real? How much did it really happen to you? And he said, all of it. And so I just asked him as many questions as I could. How did you feel when this happened to you? What were your perspectives like in your relationships, and how do those things change? And what did you think of yourself and the world and those around you? And why are you telling this story? What is this story? What does it mean to you? I just wanted to understand what story he wanted to tell and what about himself he wanted to put out there and of his parents, and just try to understand him through that in his childhood, and hearing old stories of what it was like for him growing up and getting to know him. Working with him, you learn so much every day that I can't tell you one thing. I mean, the passion and creativity and energy that just radiates from him on a daily basis when he's making a movie, it's really inspiring that you just feel it and you kind of have to experience it to understand, but I don't think I can articulate it.
I mean, you did a good job there. You touched on his parents there, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about what it was like working with Michelle and Paul, what kind of prep you had with them to sort of create the amazing bond we see on screen.
Paul, I got to know a little bit before shooting. We had spoken on the phone a bunch, and we texted, and we'd gone out to lunch and got to know each other a bit personally. I think because, you want to be a familiarity, and so we got along really well. But Michelle was working on another movie until a week before shooting The Fabelmans. She was busy, which I admire her so much for. That must have been so tough for her, but she nailed it. But so Michelle, I didn't meet until her first day on set. And what's so cool about Paul and Michelle is you get to know them by the characters they've played on screen, and they're chameleons. And then you get to know them as people, and you realize that they're so different from the people they've played. And then you see these characters that they've created. You see all the mannerisms that they've been working on, their walk, their posture, their talk, their little details, their laugh, everything about them that kind of transforms them from the people you just met them as. And they're about twice my age. They started at around the same time and I have. They've been doing this a really long time, and if acting is a muscle, they're really strong. And so it's really inspiring to work with those people and ask them questions about the industry and acting and get to know them and see how they work and how they move the space, how they lead a set, and how grounded and humble and generous and supportive they are as people. It was a really, really positive experience.
I also wanted to ask you a little bit, how was it portraying such vulnerable moments in Spielberg's life in front of him?
Well, you when you're in the scene, you try to forget everything else and you just want to be that character in that moment. And then he says, cut, and then he walks around the corner onto set after like a relatively emotional and troubling scene for him. It's really hard for him. I mean, he's mourning his parents. His mother had passed 5 years before he filmed this at 99, and his dad passed 2 years before filming it at 102. And he's mourning his childhood, and he's remembering his parents in front of him, and these really tough memories for him. And it's really cathartic for him, and you can appreciate that, and you just feel special to be a part of it, and you feel important to his story. And we were all, the whole cast and crew was just united on telling his story. It's a weird thing.
I also wanted to say, so obviously you're a big Spielberg fan, and you're pretty familiar with his work. If you could play any other character in any other film he's ever done, aside from The Fabelmans, who would you play and why?
Oh, wow. I've never been asked that question. Indiana Jones. I mean, that's, to be, yeah, that would be cool. I'd also love, John Malkovich's character in Empire of the Sun. Maybe, Tom Hanks's character in Catch Me If You Can. Ariana DeBose's character in West Side Story. He's created he's had some really cool characters in his film. Being in any Steven Spielberg movie is a dream come true. I'll do anything.
Well, congratulations on this film and your Critics' Choice Award, and
thank you.
I'm sure you've got a very promising career ahead.
Thank you very much.
It's available now. It's The Fabelmans. And with that, thanks for checking me out on the Bring the Film podcast today. I'm Patrick Downs, and you can keep in touch across Twitter at I'm Patrick Downs, also on Instagram or facebook.com/officialpoptart. And there's also the website soof.co.uk. This is a podcast from soof.co.uk.